ridiculous. But back in those days, they said if you lift weights and you're a woman, you're going to get, thick and, beefy and you look like a man. That's not real. Hey there, Coach Devin here. All right, this is episode 1 of Ask Coach Devin. And the whole point of this thing is that I'm come on here and answer questions that people have about health and fitness, because people ask me questions all the time. And I thought it would be helpful for people to get out there and just be able to ask questions live and in real time. Now, I understand this is the first one. Not everybody's going to be here the first time. It's also a beautiful day outside, so not everybody's going to be here. So what I'm going to do is save this. It'll be on my Facebook page. We'll probably share it over to YouTube too, stuff like that. And what I did ahead of time is ask people to pitch me some questions, okay? To pitch me a few questions and see what are some things people are looking for health and fitness wise. So a lot of people asked me questions already, which is super cool because they couldn't be here. And that's pretty neat that people are there asking questions right off the gun. So people posted up some questions. People messaged me some questions. All right, so I'm going to jump right in and start answering some questions right off the gun. So number one, first question was, people said, breakfast. Like 3 or 4 people asked this. Breakfast, Devin, breakfast. I hate making breakfast. It's a pain in the ass. What am I going to do on the breakfast side of things? All right, I can tell you what I eat for breakfast. I can't guarantee that, you're going to love what I have, but I think that most people love it. So here's what I do for breakfast. Breakfast for me, real simple and to the point. I make oatmeal. So just normal, like 2-minute oatmeal. You put it in a bowl, add water to it, put it in the microwave. Turn it on for like a minute, 45 minutes to 2 minutes. All right. So it's in there, it's made. You take it out, it's hot, you have oatmeal. Okay, now the next thing is important. You have to do it. If you don't do it, this whole thing falls apart. Add water. So you're going to add some water. You want it to be a little bit soupy. Okay, that's important. Add the water, and then once you've added water, you put in protein powder, a scoop of protein powder, whatever you happen to have. I think I have chocolate, double chocolate or something right now. I put a scoop of protein powder in and usually some blueberries, frozen blueberries or fresh, whichever you like. I like frozen because they don't go bad. It's cheaper that way, so that's what I do. That is my breakfast basically every day. How much oatmeal do I have? I usually have about... usually I go 1/3 of a cup, so it's probably 2/3 of a cup of oatmeal dry with water, and we go from there. It's pretty much that simple. It is that easy and that much to the point. So it's just oatmeal, heat it up, make oatmeal, add extra water, super important because otherwise the protein powder will make it gross, and add blueberries, and it is easy peasy, simple and to the point. Elsie, how does someone determine the amount of protein they need in a day? Easy one. All right, so let's talk about the amount of protein. That is a very good question, Elsie. All right. The rule of thumb that I like to use for protein is you need about, for a man who's exercising aggressively, like working out a lot, 0.75 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. That's the number that I use for men. For women, about 0.5, so about half a gram of protein to 0.75 grams of protein per pound of body weight. That's where you want to be. Now, that is not necessarily a hard and fast number. If you're someone who's really, say, somebody who is big, okay, and you're 250 pounds, you don't need 250 grams of protein. That is a lot. It is a range, right? So for women, 0.5 to 0.75 grams of protein per pound of body weight. For men, 0.75 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight is sort of the rough rule. Bobby Peterson, how do you keep that head so smooth? You know what that is? I'll tell you what I use right now. I use ivory soap on my head and the rest of my body. I shave with ivory soap. I use ivory soap and cheap-ass razors. I'm not kidding. I don't know why it works, but it seems to work okay. So ivory soap and cheap-ass razors. It also works well on your legs, if anybody was wondering. I get the razors at Costco. You can get like 52 razors for, I forget what the cost is. Not a lot. They're pretty cheap-ass razors, but they do work well. They don't last forever, but they do work well. All right, so that was the protein one. Breakfast. Bobby, you like that one? Okay, another question people had is they're talking about protein shakes. What do you put in protein shakes? All right, I've made protein shakes a million different ways over the years, and one of the ones that I like for protein shakes is super easy and simple that I think works really, really well. And I've only started doing this recently, so this is a recent thing for me. I've always wanted to get more protein and better sources of protein. That's always my goal. Egg whites, excellent source of protein, right? It's a great source of protein. And it's always a little frustrating for me because I'm not an enormous egg guy. I like eggs, but not like insane, like, oh, I love eggs. None of that stuff. So what I do is with making protein shakes, scoop of protein powder, and I buy those. I go to Costco and I buy the egg whites. They're like a half, like the big ones, half. So 500 milliliters of egg white. The nice thing about the egg whites is they're pasteurized already, so it's not gonna make you sick. You can drink those suckers, but it'd be gross to drink them. Here's the trick. So what I do is I take scoop of protein powder, one of those, 500 milliliters of egg whites, pour it in. I also put in some spinach. I put broccoli, sometimes peas and carrots, frozen peas and carrots. I like that one. And the trick that I like to use, I use a little bit of blueberry because of the antioxidants. Big fan of the blueberries. And the big thing that I always stick in there is mango. Mango cuts the taste of everything. So the first time I made that, so it's egg whites as the base. You don't put any water in. My wife was like, that is going to be disgusting. She had some other choice words in there too, let's be honest. But she, give me 2 seconds, Lori, I will hit you up with that answer in a sec. My wife was like, that's going to be gross. And I wasn't 100% convinced myself because, I thought it'd be a fun thing to try, but I wasn't sure. Tried it. The mango cuts the taste. It's super tasty. You get lots of vegetables, tons of protein. And the thing is, you can split it into 2 drinks and it's like 340, 360 calories. And it's like a full-on meal. And you're getting about 75 to 80 grams of protein. Bang for your buck. Easy and to the point. That's how I make protein shakes. All right. Protein powder. Lori Grant. There's a lot of different kinds of protein powder out there. If you're somebody who needs... let's see. If you're somebody who has issues with whey, there is a great protein powder out there that I'm a huge fan of called, oh gosh, why Darren Burke? What the heck is the name of it? Anyway, it'll come to me in a sec. Outcast. Bobby Peterson. There's my shout out to Bobby Peterson. It's the one who turned me onto it. Outcast protein. If you need to be vegan or protein or vegetarian protein, or your stomach bothers you, because Bobby would drink whey protein, his stomach would bug him. Outcast is the bomb. Works great. Doesn't make people feel sick. Tastes good. It's actually from here. The guy who made it, I used to train years and years ago in university. He was a professor at St. FX. Now he owns his own company and does a great job. And the nice thing is, Outcast, by the name, Outcast actually is they're used vegetables that have been outcast. They're not being used anymore. So it's actually made with products that are going to be thrown away. So it's actually, you're helping the world at the same time you're doing it. So I would suggest Outcast protein if you want to be vegetarian. There's a ton of other kinds of proteins out there. One good one, Power Whey, which is made by BioX, is an excellent one. I like it a lot. The taste is good. Probably, I would say that is my top, 3 or 4 because I like the taste and it doesn't bother my stomach. So Power Whey by BioX, if you go to Popeyes or Supplement King, good choices to have there. I think it works well. So Power Whey would be a good one. What age is appropriate for children to start weightlifting? Okay, Kelly, great question. To be honest, kids can start exercising pretty young. That's something to keep in mind. You can start exercising as a kid young. You just don't want to use a lot of weight, right? Because you don't want to have issues later on. I'm going to tell you a quick story about myself. I started weightlifting young. Like I was like 14, had no idea what I was doing, lifting as heavy as I possibly could, like an idiot. Didn't really know how to do reps. Tore some stuff in my hip. Couldn't run for like 8 months. It sucked. Don't do that. So what at age for kids to start weightlifting? Kids can start lifting stuff pretty young. I mean, you can do it pretty young. I would say 14 is a good choice to start because the bones are starting to get, when your bones are growing, they get a little softer. You want them to harden up a little bit. So 14 is a good age to start as long as they're not going crazy. You could start as young as 12, as long as you're not lifting stupid heavy and it's with form. But the problem is it's hard for kids, to have good form when they're younger. And boys, they ego lift, let's be honest. I mean, they all ego lift. I have testosterone when I was 14. I was like, I must lift a lot of weights. It's one of those things you do. It's life, right? So a lot of ego lifting with kids, so you got to control that stuff. But if you can put them in an environment, we work with an environment that's safe. That's what I should say. You put them in an environment that's safe, Kids can do a ton of stuff. They really can. We have worked with kids as young as 10 and 12 that come to the gym with part of sports teams. As long as we're prescribing the right stuff and we're not overloading them, and there's lots of body weight stuff and movement and things, it's great for them. Kids should be moving. Your body's built to move. 100% of the time, kids should move. So I say when it's weightlifting and it's getting serious, 14. But again, pay attention, know what you're doing. Don't be bananas on it. Don't be like me and lift too heavy. It's a process, right? You start. It's like building a house. You start with or building a block house. You build with big blocks at the bottom, and you work your way up. That's the important thing. So small things at the bottom. Always start with the basics. Learn how to do the basics well for kids, and that will translate well for them as they get older. All right, LC, what cardio exercise would you recommend to aid in fat loss? Okay. Any cardio is good, right? You have to do cardio. The thing people sometimes get weirded out on is people like cardio because they're like, oh, I'm going to burn a lot of calories and sweat a lot. Okay, that's good. Always awesome to burn calories and sweat. Everybody loves doing that, but you have to be smart about how you're doing it. Okay, you don't want to get bananas and do crazy stuff. Back in the day, and we're not talking that long ago because I'm not that old. I'm getting old, but not that old. You would see people in the gym, predominantly, unfortunately, women, who would go to the gym and they would just they'd be doing cardio all day, every day. It's ridiculous. But back in those days, they said if you lift weights and you're a woman, you're going to get, thick and, beefy and you look like a man. That's not real. Doesn't happen. If it was easy to get jacked, and I don't know when my phone's going off. Sorry about that. If it was easy to get jacked, I would be huge because I've been lifting weights since I was 14, and I'm 48 years old now. It's not easy to get jacked. Now, fortunately, people understand that now. Lots of women lift weights. They're not going to get huge. Still look feminine. You can lift weights. Cardio. I got a little tangent there. I do that sometimes. My apologies. Any cardio is good cardio, but what I like to tell people is cardio is there to take care of your heart. Right? We're getting a little bit older. We want to take care of our heart. That's important to do. It's super important. Take care of your heart. Make sure things aren't going sideways, all that fun stuff. Take care of your heart, number one. As long as you're taking care of your heart and you're doing some cardio, you're going to burn some calories. The thing to remember about doing cardio is you're only going to burn calories while you're doing it. Okay, so if you burn 300 calories, you burn 300 calories. That's great. If you lift weights and you gain muscle, you're burning cardio, you're going to burn calories long term. Weightlifting is important, cardio is important, but cardio is not important necessarily for fat loss. How I look at cardio and how I work with clients with cardio is it's important to take care of your heart, make sure it's healthy so you don't have heart attacks and you don't have problems down the road, all those fun things. So it is important to do the cardio for that. I don't really use it as a fat burner per se. I want you to take care of your cardiovascular abilities. That's what I want you to do more than anything else. And it's a little, 200 extra calories, 300 extra calories, a couple times a week is great. That's just icing on the cake. But take care of your heart first and foremost. What is best? Honest to God, whatever you like. Whatever you like to do is best. Now, within reason, obviously, because if you're sitting down, if you're on a bike, right, you're sitting down, you burn less calories. If you're standing up, you burn more calories. I'm sitting down now, even though I'm moving around and I'm talking and I'm I talk a lot with my hands. That means I'm burning more calories than if I was sitting absolutely still. But if I was standing up doing the same thing, I would burn even more calories. So always, if you have a choice, doing cardio. If you're going to do cardio and you have a choice, stand up doing cardio. So that means if you're an elliptical, run, hike, power walk up a hill, always going to be better, always going to do more for you and more bang for your buck, so to speak, than doing cardio sitting on your butt. Always better because you're using more muscles. The other thing with that is it's interesting that gets me on that kick with cardio to keep in mind. Cardio, if you're doing cardio in a workout, okay, so I'm going to lift weights, I'm going to do cardio. When do you do it? Right? Do you do cardio first or do you do cardio second? That's a question a lot of people ask. Always they're like, well, I like to do my cardio first. Don't do your cardio first. Do your cardio second. Okay? Always do your cardio second. And the reason you want to do cardio second is when you lift weights, you're going to burn carbohydrates, which is glycogen, but you don't really need to know that. You're going to burn carbohydrates out of your muscles. Your body burns carbohydrates and fats at varying levels. So since they burn carbohydrates and fats at varying levels, if you have less carbohydrates because you have been lifting weights, your body's forced to burn more fat. So do your cardio after your weights, not before your weights. More bang for your buck. Kelly, I was totally confused what you were talking about. How much do you work on fitness how do you work on fitness while suffering injuries? Okay, very, very good question. The trick is, and the thing to remember is that the more you move, right, the more you're doing things, the faster you'll recover, even if you're not using that muscle. So to give you an idea, my mom went to the hospital and had her hip replaced. Had her hip replaced, and they said basically the quicker you can get up and walk around, the faster you can go home. There's a time when you get your hip replaced and they're like, convalesce at the hospital. You don't do that stuff anymore because the more you move, the more blood flow. If you get more blood flow, guess what? You heal faster. So how do you work around injuries? If you have a knee injury, work upper body or work the muscles in different manners. Do stuff that you can do. If you can't do a squat, that's okay. That's fine. If you can still deadlift, but you can't squat, that's great. Deadlift. If you can still do calves, but you can't do your thigh, your hamstring, and your quad, do that. That's okay. Do upper body. Always do something. You can work around pretty much any injury. I mean, I had a client, this is my shout out to my friend Angie. Angie tore an Achilles, completely tore an Achilles, went to the hospital, they sewed it back together. She did not miss a workout. And she came in on crutches and she did upper body and core. And the background of that story, which is really cool, is the fact that Angie had torn her Achilles. It was, I think, February when she tore it. Yeah, it would have been around February when she tore it. So it was wintertime. She tears the Achilles. There's a guy at her rehab that had torn his Achilles like 2 weeks before hers. He was still walking with a limp, and she could run on hers. And that the difference was he didn't really do anything. He just went to his physio. He did as little as possible and sat in his ass. Angie didn't skip any work. She's a police officer. Didn't skip work one day. Missed no work. Missed no workouts. Kept moving. Healed. The more you can do, the better off you'll be. I swear to God, if you do more, you will heal faster. Every time I've been injured, I have always forced myself to do other things, continue working. If it's an upper body injury, I will work legs or work around it in some manner. You will heal faster. Convalescing is never the answer. Do not convalesce at home. Like, don't be sitting there going, well, I should put my feet up and not move. It doesn't work well that way. Bad things happen with that. So, it's always best to continue doing things and doing as much as you can, obviously within reason. Don't be a crazy person and hurt yourself, because lots of people, let's be honest, lots of people do hurt themselves. If something hurts, that's your body saying, hey, listen up, don't do that anymore. So it's important to be smart about that and not hurt yourself. So bang for your buck, always try to exercise through an injury, but don't, if you can't use that muscle, that joint, whatever, that's okay. Do other stuff. All right, so another question that I had, and this one is funny. I get this one all the time now. I think it's people are always asking butt questions. Favorite butt exercise? It's hilarious. Everybody always wants to ask the butt exercise questions. By the way, it is wicked hot in here. That's why I'm sweating like crazy. I didn't turn the AC on before I started. Then I started and I thought, shoot, I should have turned the AC on before I did that. Anyway, butt exercises. Everybody wants to work butt these days. I'm going to have a real quick rant before I hit the butt exercises as I like. The one thing to remember with butt exercises, people, not only women, but guys do it too. Guys work upper body all the time, cranking away at upper body, never touch their legs. That's stupid, right? You got to work your whole body. Don't be a knucklehead. Ladies who want to work butt and legs all day long and some core and never work upper, that's a bad idea too. And if you're somebody who's working, and I see it on Instagram all the time nowadays, people are like, I'm just going to work butt all the time. My butt day. Look, if you get muscles, every muscle in your body is antagonistic, okay? So it works against each other. So my bicep makes my arm do this. My tricep, which is in the back, makes my arm do that. If I work one of them constantly and it gets super overdeveloped, all right? So say my tricep's enormous and my bicep is not, I'm going to injure myself because my tricep is so strong, I'm going to hurt my bicep doing other things. Don't keep doing butt exercises only. You got to do, because hamstring and butt, they're antagonistic toward your quadricep, which is your thigh, the front of your leg. Do everything. Always do everything. All right. Now that rant is done, that's a pet peeve for me. I hate when people are just doing one thing again and again. Guys with upper body and ladies just doing legs. Okay, favorite butt exercises. Ton of them out there. I'm a bit of a lunge fan. I've always found lunges work really well. They're a great bang for your buck exercise. I like them. They get what you want going on. And it is, the most work in the least amount of time. That's what I like about them. So I've always been a fan of butt exercises with lunges. Either walking lunges are a favorite of mine, and step back lunges. I like step back lunges. Step back lunge means you're standing here, you step backwards, your front knee bends to 90 degrees, and then you step forward. I like that one too. Weighted step back lunges, that is my number one favorite for butt exercises. If you do it, push off the heel and the front foot, but step back lunges for butt exercises are money. Love them. My favorite one, I always program that way. Really find they work, and if anybody who knows me, I have a big butt. I've done a ton of lunges. They definitely work. Just, I don't know if you don't really want my butt, but anyway, that's my side point on that one. LC, what is the difference between a typical workout and a HIIT workout? Okay, a typical workout would be considered, the old school bodybuilding workout. So you're going, I don't know, like chest and triceps, back and biceps, legs, shoulders, arms, whatever. That's sort of a traditional look at exercises, right? So that's traditional, bodybuilding exercises and programming. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong. It works. If you're looking for an aesthetic look, then yeah, you're gonna train in that way lots of times. The difference between that and a HIIT workout, HIIT is HIIT, which stands for high intensity interval training. What high intensity interval training means is you're doing something fast, pretty briskly, going exercise to exercise, and it's interval. So you go really quick, take a break, really quick, take a break. If you're doing interval runs, you would sprint for, say, one telephone pole and walk a telephone pole, or sprint for 30 seconds, walk for 20 seconds, something like that. That is HIIT training. Both of them are positive. Both of them work. HIIT training, excellent way of doing cardio while you're lifting. So say you go push-ups to jump squats to sit-ups, and then you take a 30-second break and you do it again. That works. Great way of doing it. Different though on it depends on your goals, right? So a HIIT workout is great to do, but if your goal is more aesthetic and you want to build muscle and burn fat, yes, some HIIT workouts are good, but you don't want to predominantly do them because they're not built for that. You would do more of the bodybuilding, a little bit more old school, looking for a physique look rather than a HIIT style thing, which is not to say HIIT is bad. It just means it's a little bit different. It's like saying a sprinter, for example, will train to sprint because they want to run fast. It's not about, but they're not going to go run a marathon because that won't help them. Just like a marathoner is not going to do a lot of super short sprints. They can do those things. So a sprinter can do, some long distance work, but not stupid long. And the sprinter and the marathoner will do some speed work, but not stupid fast because, they're trying to work together around those things. Every type of fitness is good for you. You just want to make sure it's appropriate to what your goals are. The end of the day is, what is the goal? If the goal fits, great, do it. If the goal doesn't fit, and I see a lot of people do this, the goal's not great, and they're saying, I want to go here. I want a physique style thing, but I'm going to do all HIIT workouts. That doesn't work. If they're saying, I want to lift really heavy and I want to be a power lifter, but then they're doing HIIT workouts, that doesn't work. But there's nothing wrong with HIIT workouts because they do get you more fit. So there's different styles to things, and it really boils down to what the best workout for you is, what your goals are. All right, Kelly, what should people also focus? I can't even read. Should people also focus on flexibility in workouts? Do you think it's important? By the way, hi cousin Elsie. That's awesome. Okay, they're cousins. I didn't realize that. Okay. Yes, flexibility is super important. I will preach that until I turn blue in the face. I'll be honest, I don't always practice what I preach. I'm not the best stretcher in the world. It is important to stretch, though. If you want injury prevention, stretching is important. You don't have to stretch for like 6 days or, an hour of stretching every day, but you do have to stretch. One of the things I program, especially with online clients, I program a stretch day. It's like 25 minutes long, but it goes through all the different stretches. It's the whole point of it is to make sure that they're doing something to make sure that they're not going to hurt themselves. Stretching is about taking that muscle to the long stretch point, the farthest out. So if your bicep, right? My bicep's at the stretch point now. Okay, so if I then stretch into an arm, a door or something like that, I can stretch it slightly past that. That's good because it stretches out that muscle. The muscle has less opportunity to tear when it's doing other things, right? When you lift weights, you tend to shorten muscles and they get denser, which is what you want. You want them to get denser, but they also can get hurt if you don't stretch. So, do you have to stretch every single day? No, you don't have to stretch every single day, but you should stretch some 100% if you, or foam roll or something. It's preventative maintenance. It's like putting oil in your car, every 5,000 kilometers or whatever you put. I'm not really a car guy, to be honest. I don't know. But it's like 5,000 kilometers. I think that's what I do with the Jeep. I think I put it every 5,000 kilometers. I think that's what it is. Or maybe it's 8. I don't know. Don't quote me on that one because I'm not a real good car guy. I know a little bit about exercise, but I don't know about that stuff. It is preventive maintenance. You want to make sure things are working and you're not going to hurt yourself doing stuff. So it's important to stretch. So always make sure you stretch a bit. Stretching doesn't have to mean that it's so painful you can hardly move. You don't got to do that. It doesn't have to be insane. You just need to make sure that you stretch. That is an important piece of the puzzle. Make sure you stretch. If you stretch, you'll be happier. I am sweating like heck. Look at that. It is hot in here. I seriously should have turned the AC on before I started on this one. Okay, I don't see any other questions at the bottom, so I will hit one of the ones that I had beforehand. Oh, right. Okay, somebody said to me, Devin, is red meat really that bad for you? Okay, good question. That's actually a very good question. I like steak. I'm a fan of steak. I like hamburgers too. I like those things. Anything in moderation is not going to kill you, right? It's just not going to kill you. You can have pop in moderation. You can have steak in moderation, red meat in moderation. You can have alcohol in moderation. Where we run into problems as people is that we have too much of stuff, right? I should have borrowed Logan's crop top. Logan was wearing a sick crop top today. Logan can pull off the crop top. I cannot. I am not as pretty as Logan. I can't pull off the crop top. I'm not doing the crop top. Let Logan keep the crop top. He looked good with it. He's got some mean abs. My abs are not as good as Logan's. Okay, so to get back to it, red meat, is it good or bad? Anything within reason and within moderation is okay. So you can have it sometimes. Should you eat it every day of the week? No, that's a bad idea. It's eating any one thing every day of the week would be bad. It'd be like doing, I don't know, leg exercises every day of the week or doing bench press every day of the week or whatever. It's not good for you. We as people, we tend to overdo, right? We're like, I'm going to do more of this and more is better. More is not always better. It's sometimes quite often worse. Don't do that. Red meat, the difference really between, like, say, red meat and chicken is there's a ton more calories in red meat. And the reason there's more calories in red meat is it has more fat. So fat on its own, not really a bad thing. You don't have to be like, oh my God, I hate fat. It's not like that. Basically, to work out calorie numbers, a gram of protein has 4 calories. A gram of carbohydrates also has 4 calories. A gram of fat has 9 calories. So there's 9 calories in a gram of fat, right? Which means red meat having more fat means it's just one of those things, right? Red meat with more fat in it, because there's more fat in red meat than there is in something like chicken. That means, guess what happens? You are going to have way more calories. So red meat on its own, not necessarily a bad thing. You just have to be cognitive of what you're getting in there. So a steak is going to have way more protein, or not more protein, sorry. It will have way more calories in it than a chicken breast, because there's very little fat in the chicken breast, a lot of fat in the steak or hamburger, right? Those are the things to keep in mind with that. But that is a very good question on the... Thanks, Jeff, for sending that one in, by the way. He couldn't be here, but anyway, that was the question Jeff had about red meat. Kelly, you are awesome. I love watching your videos on YouTube. Aw, that's so nice. I appreciate that. You know what's funny is sometimes I make... Before I finish reading that... sometimes I make videos on YouTube, and you're literally sitting here talking to your phone like I am right now, and it's a little weird. I'm like, you think anybody even sees this stuff? You know what I mean? Like I'm always thinking, and then people come up and they're like, "Oh, I saw your video about whatever, and that was cool," or I have a question on it, and I'm like, it's almost funny that they watched it because I almost felt like nobody saw it because it was me and a camera talking. It's always a little bit weird to me. Okay, thank you very much, Kelly. Wish I lived closer. Would head over to the gym for sure. Love all the positive vibes. You said, "Aw, that's so nice." I always try to be positive. We try to have fun at work. Listen, If you can't have fun at work, what the hell's the point, right? Exercise is hard enough on its own. Have to go. Appreciate your time. Kelly, thank you for being here. Awesome questions. Really good questions. I have 2 more questions that came in. And if anybody else has questions while we're going, we're talking health and fitness here. So anything goes. Any questions you have, fire. This one is a exercise related question. And the exercise related question goes like this. Devin, if you had a choice between working more back or more chest, which would you choose? Okay, that's a different one. Okay, I think if I was given a choice, I would work more back. The reason being there's more muscle in your back and there's more ways you can hit your back. So there's a lot more muscle back there. Chest is not a huge extra muscle. If you think about it, it only really goes like this, right on each side. It's not a huge muscle. People overwork small muscles quite often because they look cool, right? Or they think they look cool. Like a lot of people are like, I want a big chest. Okay, great, you want a big chest, but really your back has way more meat in it. And if you want to look bigger or you want to look more fit, having a bigger back as a guy, that looks better than chest. So I would, if I'm going to pick bang for my buck, I work harder on back than I do on chest, number of reps wise and stuff like that, and the sheer number of volume, because there's more muscle in my back. There's different ways to hit it. So you don't want to be, not everything on your body is the same, right? What's up, Mark? How are you? Nice to see you. One of the things, you know, big muscles can take more volume, why small muscles obviously don't. One of the things along those lines is like your bicep, right? Your bicep is only 1/3 of your arm. Your tricep is 2/3 of your arm because it's this whole thing. How are you, Patricia? Good to see you. And it's always funny when people call me boss. I always find that amusing. I don't know why. For some reason, it always has made me laugh over the years. So your bicep is 1/3 of your arm. Your tricep is 2/3 of your arm. If you want more fit looking arms, you should probably do more triceps than you should do biceps. But people are like, yeah, but how does this look, right? And they do that. So because they do that, they end up working a lot of bicep and they don't work a lot of tricep or as much tricep or enough tricep. But really, you should be doing, if you're going to pick one, and again, antagonistic muscles, if one of them's smaller, in this case, the bicep is smaller, right? It's antagonistic. It makes my arm do this and the tricep makes my arm do that. It's better to, pay attention to 2/3 of your arm than it is to pay attention to 1/3 of your arm. So that is one of those things that I think is important to keep in mind. You want to work bigger muscles more than you work the small muscles, right? You wouldn't work your forearm more than you work your chest. That would be stupid. Not saying that people haven't done it in the past, but yeah, it is better. It's always important to work the bigger muscles more. So if I had a choice between chest and back, I'm going to do more back than I am chest. That's an interesting question, and that actually is the first time I ever had that one. So it's an interesting one. All right, if anybody else has any questions, fire away, write them up. I would love to hear them. I have one more that came in. What's up, Amanda Chater? You know what? I'll tell you a funny story about Amanda Chater. You know what she likes to be called is Baby Chates. If you see Amanda Chater, call her Baby Chates. She absolutely loves it. It's her favorite nickname ever. Actually, that's not exactly true, but her YouTube name is actually Baby Chates too. And that is because when she was she and her brother were both in dental school at the same time. He was obviously older, so he was Big Chates and she was Baby Chates. Anyway, funny thing, but you can call her Baby Chates. I call her Baby Chates all the time, and she absolutely loves her. Right, Chater? She's not even going to write me. She's so annoyed. Okay. Last one I have on here, and again, if you have a question, write them up if you have something that pops in your head. Last question. Hardest workouts you've ever done? All right. That is that's a good one right there. Hardest workout I've ever done. I'm going to flash back to my first year in university. The workout program was called I'm totally losing the name of it. Oh, I can't think of the name, but it'll come to me in Cybergenics. There we go. The workout program was called Cybergenics, and Murph was awful. Murph is 100% awful. It's a really hard workout. Cybergenics is like a bodybuilding style workout. We're talking like 1992, 93, right? My first year in university. And it was all in all the magazines, and these guys were like going from like super skinny dudes, and I was a skinny dude, to jacked. And I'm like, yep, that's what I want. In reality, those guys were all on steroids, and it was all faked. But they did have a program, and you could buy all this stuff, and anyway, it was wild. But basically, you took all these pills, which were just a bunch of really vitamins and niacin. It was my first experience with niacin. If you ever taken niacin before, you take it, and then your ears feel like they're burning off your head, and your skin gets really hot and itchy, and it's awful. Yeah, that's niacin. And first experience with niacin, it was terrible. Hated it. So you take all these pills, and which really didn't do anything, and he did this workout. It was the most insane workouts. To give you an idea of the squat day, it went like this: 80% of your maximum squat, and you do that to negative failure. So what that means is you're doing squats, okay, and you do it, and Mark, give me 2 seconds and I'll answer that question. You're doing squats, and you do it until you can't lower the weight on your own. All right, because you had to have somebody there. So you get to a point where you can't raise the weight on your own, and your person's lifting you up, and then you keep on going until you can't lower the weight under control yourself. Then you cut 50% of the weight off and do it again. Then you get out from under the bar and you jump squats until you can't do them, and then you do air squats until you can't do them. And that was 1 round, and you did that, I believe, 5 times. Just for the quadricep. It was the worst. I did it. I would get up in the morning, like with my buddy Sandy. We would get up. We would go to the gym. It was his name was Sandy Young, and hopefully maybe Sandy's even on here. He's on my Facebook somewhere. We would go there. We would do it, and we'd both throw up multiple times during the workout every time. And every exercise was like that. You're like doing bench press, 80% of your maximum, till you couldn't lower the bar on your own, which is horribly dangerous. And then you put it back, cut the weight in half, go again until you couldn't do it, then do push-ups until you couldn't do them. And then you go throw up. And then you do it again. It was the worst workout ever. Stupid. Just like the sheer volume of work. It would take you 2 hours of working out. My body, I had never been that sore in my whole life. It was insanity. Cybergenics, if you look it up online, it probably doesn't exist anymore, but if you look it up, you can see the before and after pictures. I thought at 18 and 19 years old, I was going to be like, wow, jacked. So I went after the Cybergenics. The hardest workouts I've ever done in my life. I've never been that sore before, except when I wore the strength shoes one time. And I did wear strength shoes. If you've ever watched Seinfeld, the Jimmy has strength shoes. Jimmy talks in the third person. That episode, the strength shoes, which look like you got like a big base on your shoe and you're running, but your heel can't touch. Use those until I couldn't walk one time too, because they said, walk around in them for the first day. So I did. And the second time they're like, jog for like 15 seconds. And I'm like, I wasn't doing that. So I like ran half a mile, and I couldn't walk for full on a week. Stairs, whoa, terrible. I was 19 and stupid. That's what you do when you're 19. Mark Chisholm. People who have umbilical cord hernia operation was the best exercise not to re-tear that muscle. Wow. So we're talking ab exercises, umbilical cord operations. It really, that's a little bit more technical. I don't want to say specific exercise necessarily, because I don't want to give you something that might hurt you since I can't be here with you. I will say this, Mark. When you have an injury like that, planks, very good for you, would be helpful. I'd have to, honestly, I'd want to see in person. I'm not trying to fudge it. I don't want to see it, and then I want a chance to talk to the physio or the doctor, just so I don't hurt you. Yeah, I'd be a little concerned to just fire away and say something on the off chance that I might hurt you. It's easy in fitness to hurt people, and I don't want to be stupid, and that's a little bit more technical injury question. I mean, I have some ideas, but again, I'd want to see you, and then I'd want to see what your physio or your doctor said too. Sometimes you need a little bit of information on that stuff just to make sure that I didn't, screw something up for you, because it is easy to hurt yourself, and that kind of stuff. Umbilical hernia operations are, they're a little more intense than a normal hernia. You don't want to redo them. I would say planks are probably, if I was to hedge, and I'm not going to say it's necessarily the best idea right now, because again, I'm not talking to your doctor. A plank is probably bang for your buck, the best thing to do, I would think. But again, I'd want to talk to a doctor just to make sure that we're not doing anything stupid. If anybody else has any questions, quick, that was the ones that I had. And my goal is to do this every week. I think it's been a lot of fun. Again, it's a little weird to sit here and talk to your phone because all I can see is me in the comments down below. But my goal here is to do this because I think it'll be kind of a cool thing to do. And I know people ask me questions all the time. So, what better way to answer questions than right here live on Facebook, right? Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate everybody being here. I will make sure I save this to my page. That way you can watch it anytime you want and come back. And if you have any other questions to spring up from that, comment because I'd love to hear. Have yourself an amazing day. It's beautiful out there. It's going to rain for the next couple days, so enjoy that. Peace out, guys. Have a good day. Take care.